Good evening. Welcome to 7:30 NT. I'm Letitia Lemke. The Northern Territory's drinking problem is well documented. The average local drinks more than 14 litres of alcohol a year, 4 litres more than other Australians. The alcohol-related death rate is up to 4 times higher here than in the rest of the country. The Territory Government is preparing to introduce new measures in a bid to reduce the violence, illness and car crashes caused by grog. But the jury's out on whether they'll make a big difference. Alison Middleton reports.
Andrew BLAIN is getting on with life after a devastating attack almost 3 years ago. The Army aircraft technician was at a Darwin nightclub when he bumped into a stranger. The man smashed a glass into his face.
It happened so quickly, from bumping into him and turning around to apologise. Next thing I saw was a fist coming at me with a glass in my hand, and after that I fell to the ground and realised that I was in a world of hurt.
Andrew BLAIN lost his left eye in the attack and as a result his job in the Defence Force. The 30-year-old says he's lucky he's been able to continue his career outside of the military.
It takes a little bit more effort to just do everything normally. Driving, I get a restricted licence now because of my sight, and just everyday tasks. It just, you know, I've lost half my vision, so it's just a lot harder in life.
Where did he cut? Alcohol is a factor in 60% of assaults in the Territory, and it's a leading cause of chronic disease and road accidents.
There's about 120, 125 people who die every year because of alcohol consumption, and that's about 1 in 8 of all people who die in the Northern Territory in a year.
Alcohol problems in the Northern Territory are just off the scale compared to the rest of Australia.
It's assaults, it's domestic violence. The alcohol obviously starts fights.
Craig Garraway says the Territory's alcohol problem is getting worse and it's putting ambulance officers at risk.
Unfortunately, our paramedics are probably on an average 3 to 4 times a week assaulted in some form by people suffering, obviously with alcohol issues.
I think Territorians are fed up, quite frankly, with the harm that alcohol is causing in our community.
Last week, Territory Parliament passed new laws aimed at reducing alcohol abuse. From July, people buying takeaway alcohol will have their IDs scanned. Anyone charged with an alcohol-related offence or taken into protective custody 3 times in 12 weeks will be banned from buying grog for 3 months.
They keep repeating their behaviour, the bans increase. So 3 months ban, 6 months ban, 1 year ban, with referrals to a new tribunal that will establish. The tribunal will have the powers of bans, but it will also have the powers of mandatory treatment orders.
Enough is enough. Alcohol abuse causes crime.
There might be somewhere a bit over 2,000 people every year who might get a banning notice for either a repeat drink driving offence or a high-range drink driving offence. Similarly, for assaults and domestic violence orders, there might be sort of 3,000 to 4,000 people a year who are going to get a banning notice.
People barred from buying takeaway alcohol will be able to reduce the length of their ban if they go to a GP for treatment. Researchers believe this incentive to get help will make a difference.
Certainly, the experience of a similar sort of system in Gove and in Groote Island over the past several years has been very effective in reducing a broad range of alcohol-related harms.
We believe that the way that the government's going is a little bit soft and is not going to actually have any consequences for these people who are tangled up in this alcohol abuse cycle.
The opposition says banning people from buying grog won't stop them from accessing it on the sly. It wants tougher consequences and mandatory rehabilitation for problem drinkers.
If they don't commit any criminal offences, if they don't do, they continue to be put on a banned drinking register without any real consequences of mandatory treatment. There are a lot of people out there who need a lot of help.
There are also concerns the new alcohol laws don't include measures to increase the price of alcohol.
The 10% heaviest drinkers consume 50% of all the alcohol that's consumed in the community, but the other 90% of the population also drinks it to excess at times and does develop alcohol-related problems. So alcohol prevention policies should really be targeting the whole population and not just the problematic few.
I think one of the biggest steps we can take, and one that's supported by the international literature, is to increase the basic price of alcoholic beverages, to take off the cheap drinks which form such a large part of the total amount of alcohol that's consumed.
Dennis Gray says setting a minimum price for alcohol equal to the cost of a standard beer would significantly reduce alcohol abuse. He says it's a small price to pay.
We do pay more already for that problem drinking. Alcohol-related harm costs the Australian community $15 billion a year.
I don't think that's fair. And it doesn't get a reduction in harm to the extent that you'd be looking for if you're going to actually, affect everyone in society. If you want to get real about what you should do in terms of the pricing of alcohol, that's the volumetric tax.
The Northern Territory has had a volumetric tax and it was successful in curbing alcohol abuse. The levy was scrapped after a High Court ruling in 1997 and under current taxation law would now need to be imposed by the Commonwealth.
There is going to be a tax forum held nationally in October of this year. The Territory will make sure the argument for the introduction of the volumetric tax is being heard there.
The government's also considering further measures to stop alcoholics buying grog in pubs, restaurants and online.
I've flagged to the industry that once we've bedded in all of these enormous reforms, we'll look at on-licence ID systems as well.
It seems a bit of a soft touch to me. I think that people aren't scared anymore. You need harsher penalties, mandatory sentencing and things like this for alcohol-related offences.
For Andrew BLAIN, it's been a long journey to put the glassing behind him, but he's determined not to let his injury affect his future.
I think the best thing that I've sort of taken out of it is if I'm a success within myself, then it sticks it up the bloke who punched me in the face. So that's my ultimate revenge,